Hey MGTOWs, this is Vention. Not much in my dream journal this morning. I have been keeping track of my dreams and basically writing them into a permanent form, just like the song says. and the object, or the goal, the overall goal, is to eventually gain control over my dreams. Now, my dreams don't trouble me. They're just interesting situations, and it's very rare that the dream is uncomfortable. But it happens once in a while. Like the other day, I dreamed I was in the Navy on some kind of a land-based station, and I didn't know how to do anything, and I kept embarrassing myself because I was like in that situation without being prepared. So that was kind of weird, but it's almost unheard of for me to have a really bad dream, except, you know, like maybe 20 years ago when I would still have dreams that I was back in the Army, and that was a bad dream. And it's not the fact that anything bad happened, but it was the Army, you know, just being in the Army. It was just like, oh. Well, anyway, I'm up at the crack of dawn as usual, and I'm basically updating my journal for the morning, and for yesterday actually, and it allows me to keep track of what exactly I'm doing and what my goals and plans are. And it basically kind of allows you to organize things so that you basically can live a more efficient life. I've been keeping a journal since since probably since the Iraq War, the first one, the Gulf War. Managed to clear out a bunch of Joyce's crap yesterday. My liver was hurting pretty good, but because I had irritated it while I was crawling around underneath the truck. So basically I'm that's sort of my fault. I mean, I spent much of the last 2 years, and since my colostomy surgery, I've been spending almost all my time just sitting around and recovering. But now I'm doing a little bit of activity, so I'm having a little bit of pain as a result. By the way, I bought one of these water alkalizing machines. A lot of people say it's quackery, and I'm about 50-50. I'm not sure, but basically, some friends of mine were selling it, and I said, well, why not? You know, it's affiliate marketing, and they say, no, it's not multi-level marketing. No. It's nothing like that, but but it is. But I just figured, well, I'm at the point in my financial career where it doesn't make a difference in my overall financial picture, so why not? And who knows, it might help. So, so I drink a bunch of that alkalized water every day. I fell off the wagon about 2 weeks ago, as in despair of all the horrendous nastiness in my life at the time, and I bought Burger King, so I'm still using one of the big soda cup with the straw to do my water drinking out of. So what I wanted to cover was in this video is just a quick tip that I've found very, very extremely useful. Now, there are people out there, and I was one of them up until fairly recently, where if you lay down to go to sleep, you basically can't sleep for like hours. Your mind is just cranking along and doing all kinds of crazy shit, and and taking you in places that you probably shouldn't go if you're going to try to sleep. If basically one of the situations, like a year or two ago, I had to laugh at myself, and I had to say, Vention, if you are trying to get to sleep, you shouldn't be running over scenarios where you're being attacked by feral dogs and trying to defend yourself, right? Now, that thoughts such as that are not conducive to sleeping. And yeah, so yeah, I had to laugh at myself on that one, because that is definitely not conducive to sleep. But what I have found is that if you just allow your mind to go blank, and basically just when a thought shows up and presents itself, the little lead in to the thought, right? It's kind of interesting if you think about these thoughts, right, and how thoughts work. You can see that they don't just come to you in full force and blast through, right? What they do is they just, a little tiny little lever or a little string you can like pull or something, and it's an opportunity, right? The thought is there, and you can get an idea of kind of what the thought is and what it will be, and then it presents an opportunity for you to pump energy into the thought, right? And then make the thought real and large and unfolding fully into your mind. But and then the thought is there. But before the thought appears, there's this little freaking thing, right? And it's like a string you pull on a piece of cloth that unravels it, or it's like the little trigger of a mousetrap. You push the little trigger down and blam, the mousetrap comes, right? The thoughts are not fully independent. They are not something that just blasts into your mind that you can't control, right? You are first, if you really pay attention, you're first presented with that little triggering, that little trigger, or that, I guess you could call it like a little hose or something that you could use to pump energy into that thought, into the thought, and then the thought unfolds and blossoms and starts taking up much more of the real estate of your mind, while, and if you automatically pump energy into all of these various thoughts that that are showing up and presenting themselves to you to be brought to life, right? You have the choice of just leaving the little trigger untouched, right? And then eventually that little trigger just fades, right? And then you're back to an empty mind, right? And the empty mind, you know, when these little thoughts present themselves, and then you allow the thought to go away, right? And fade. And then just maintain the sense of awareness that you have, that you're sitting wherever you're sitting, or if you're laying down in bed, and the thought appears, and it like presents itself, and it's there, and then you just don't pay attention to it. You just pay attention to where you are, or just let your thought relax, or your mind relaxed, and then let those little triggers show up, and then when you don't pump energy into those thoughts, they fade, and then you've got an empty mind again, which is a hugely useful tool. And if you are laying in bed and you allow the thoughts to go away, and just and it can be a little boring if you're not used to it, and you let those thoughts just go away or fade on their own. Don't try to push anything away. Try not to be violent in your own thoughts, because you're just being violent with yourself. So basically just allow the thoughts to go away, and then before you know it, boom, you're asleep, right? And if you're laying down in bed, right? And it's a real time saver, because if you're on a schedule and you find yourself really pressed for time, because you got to get some of that sleep before it's time, before the alarm goes off, and you got to go to work, right? And you got to take care of business and earn your money and buy those bitcoins. And if you're sitting there with insomnia, and every single thought that shows up, you pump energy into it, and then your mind is just totally overwhelmed with all of these crazy freaking thoughts that are just going everywhere, occupying all of your mind's mental real estate, you're not going to get to sleep that way. And then you're just going to be wasting time farting around, laying in bed, and opening your eyes and looking at the clock. Oh, fuck, another hour's gone by. So give it a try, guys. It takes practice. It really does. And don't try to listen actively for those thoughts, but be aware, and you can feel the little leading edge of the thought just impinging on your mind. And then when it does, just don't touch it. Don't really apply any attention to it, and then the thought will fade out, right? And and when your mind is quiet, you can basically just boom, you are asleep quick. Now, there are other uses for that quiet mind. For example, let's go back a little bit. Let's go back to the meditation side. Basically, that is meditation. I'm just a diesel mechanic. I'm not some kind of Zen monk or something, but I am, from what I understand, that is meditation. But if you are sitting in a position that requires muscular effort, and sitting up straight so that all your energy is aligned and whatnot, that takes some physical effort, and that will prevent you from sleeping, right? So if you give it like maybe 10, like even try it for like 5 minutes, right? You start getting bored, but eventually that boredom goes away, and you start feeling something that I would call peace. Now, most Americans don't understand or come even close to understanding what peace is, because they're just violently full of thoughts, and thoughts are just crashing around everywhere, and it feels as though they can't control those thoughts. And then that mind, all that really noisy mind, they tend to mistake that all of that noise for themselves. They think that that is their essence. They feel that, or they think that that is their life. And when all of that noise goes away, it's death, right? But it isn't. Those people who are into meditation, they start feeling something when they allow those thoughts to go away after maybe 10 minutes or so. And then you start getting the what I think is our real selves. You get a sense of a separation or a different identification between your own mind when it's quiet and your mind when it's all full of noise, right? And then that peace and that joy comes in, and it's kind of hard to explain. You'll have to just try it. So that mental state where your mind is quiet and you have all that peace, that is, I think, our real selves. The part of us that continues living after we pass, right? The observer, the one who is watching all the crazy from maybe about 3 inches behind our eyes, and we're looking around and it's like, ah! I'll tell you, life is a weird ass experience, and when we think that our actual lives and our existence, all of our existence is all of that noisy thought and all of our lives and doing and striving and whatnot, it can lead to a lot of fear, because you know that all of that will not last forever. The meat brain will not last. I am convinced that quiet part of our mind, that quiet awareness, is what keeps going after we pass away, and that gets rid of like 95% of all of the terror that this cancer problem that I'm working on would normally bring. So okay, so to reiterate, if you want to get to sleep, you could start this practice as a very effective time saver when you want to get to sleep, and that is quiet your mind. Don't allow don't pump energy into all of those thought opportunities which present themselves to you while you're trying to get to sleep. So then they go away, and then quick, it can happen really quick, like 7 or 8 minutes, you can start feeling the dreams coming, right, which are an entirely different experience than the thoughts. I'm not even sure where those things come from. I'm almost thinking it's when your brain shuts down and your eternal self, those are the thoughts that run through your eternal mind, right? And obviously there are the the spirit or the soul doesn't have the meat brain to really anchor it in the real world, and really have like, so everything becomes kind of weird, like lines are not straight and things are cockeyed, and it's my suspicion that that mental state and the dreams and everything are our lives once our brain shuts down for good, right? Now, if that's the case, I am of the opinion that you could put yourself through hell or heaven, depending on how depending on how much control you have over those dreams. So that is the purpose of my dream journal. I want to gain some ability to be proactive when I'm in spirit form, right? When I'm in the dream world. And the more ability I have to be focused and proactive and able to make decisions and able to handle situations, the more able I will be to have a better existence when all of this goes away, right? So that is the purpose for training. It's like a Rocky training montage for for what I think we will experience after we pass away. Now, in the other world, when we pass away, there are beings and people and things that are able to think proactively, and they, if I understand correctly, are not always friendly. And if they encounter someone who's just drifting along without the ability to really to act proactively and really control their thoughts, if I understand correctly, they can apply their own crazy fantasies on you, and then you find yourself in some kind of fantasy or whatever that is not of your own making, and you could be basically a slave, and it could be an unpleasant experience, and it could last a long friggin' time. So that is why, as crazy as this stuff sounds, and I know I'm a diesel mechanic, I'm not a freaking spirit expert, but if I understand correctly, if you have more ability to control your own thoughts, control your own dreams, then you will have a better chance at resisting some of these bored-ass beings that just want to cause pain and anguish, or throw you into a situation where you're just spinning like a top and going crazy. And it's, of course, there is also a chance that you could get sucked back into basically what I think is the ultimate version of that, which is the world that we live in right now. Because it could be so much better than it is, and it is pretty darn shitty at probably most of the time. So, and then there are probably other worlds that we could end up getting sucked into that are even worse than this one. So, if you can control your thoughts, you can make decisions, and maybe get a chance to look before you leap, and then have a better eternity, you know. So, to reiterate, if you want to get to sleep quickly, let those thought opportunities pass, and don't take them up, don't pump energy into them, and then they will go away, and your mind will be clear, and then the dreams will come, boom, and then pretty soon the alarm clock goes off, and then you've gotten a lot of good sleep that night, and you can face the day recharged. And if you want to explore a little bit farther, you can do the same thing, but do it in a sitting position, not a slouching position like what I'm in, but more of an upright sitting position where you're not leaning against the back of a chair or anything, and your arms are like on your knees or whatever, and you are just in more of an upright position, and then you can explore the quiet mind and the opportunities that it has for you while you are awake, and then it'll last longer, and the dreams won't take you away from the actual experience. So and then there's an advantage for me in that if I can touch that quiet mind state with a thought, right? I can feel when I'm nervous or I'm really tight, you know, and then I can with just a quick thought, I can touch the quiet mind, and then I can feel how tense I am suddenly, and then I can, within seconds, within like a half a second, boom, it all goes away and it all relaxes and all my muscles unclench, and I find myself in a much more quiet mental state. And I'm thankful for that, because if it wasn't for that, it's quite conceivable that all that crap Joyce pulled might very well have killed me. Because, man, I thought I was close to dying. I mean, I felt like I was that far away from friggin' dying. And, you know, I'm probably months away from dying as it is, but basically, the quiet mind allows me to not freak out. But I am in training, and I'm taking it seriously, these dream journals, and I want to gain some control, some ability to dream lucidly, with the ability to have some control and awareness that I am dreaming. That the awareness that I'm dreaming is pretty darn close to the most important thing I need to attain while I'm dreaming. So that is one of my big goals over the next few months. As far as today goes, I plan to either do one of two things or maybe both. I want to print some shit out and then go to the DMV and see if I can get my truck and camper titles replaced. And I also want to dive under the silver pickup, and because I have a really good idea of where that high resistance is. I think basically the right brake light is under tension because there's not very much slack in the cable, and the plug basically turns and moves like that, goes into the bed of the truck, and then the right hand side, basically the left side is the left hand brake light, and the right side is the right hand brake light. And the right hand brake light, the way the wire is turned, would be under the greatest tension, and all the tension pretty much of that cable would be hanging on that one wire, and that would cause, because there's so little slack, and that could quite probably be the cause of my problem. So I might want to replace that whole 7-way connector, and then with a new one, and solder the wires, and then put some shrink tube around them instead of using butt connectors, and then it will be a much more robust and much more breakdown proof connection. So guys, that's about it. That's about all I got for you today, and don't get married.